17, and about 7 years back, he was a 10-year-old, and he was playing a lot of video games. It's like, I'm sure all of you grew up playing video games, right? You all play video games? Yes? So it's fun, right? And the online games are cheap, are free, essentially, right? So there is this whole category of online games that are free games, which are massively popular online role games, MMORPGs. And essentially, what we found out, the biggest game is World of Warcraft. I don't know if you guys have played that. Has anyone played World of Warcraft?
Yes.
Raise your hands.
World of Warcraft?
Okay, two people?
No, about 3 or 4.
Okay.
4 or 5.
4?
Yeah.
So World of Warcraft is probably the most fascinating game. If you have not played it, I would strongly recommend you to play it. So go tonight, tomorrow, walk and create a account and play the game. And it has a multi-billion-dollar economy inside it. What happens is that you have to go from level to level to level. Right? So the game is basically you go from level 1 to whatever, level 50, level 100. That's how you progress in the game, right? And some people have more time in life, and some people have more money. It's never you generally don't find people with both. So people who have more money, they don't have enough time, they're very busy. And people who have a lot of time, that means partly that they may not have that much money. And so there is an interesting trade-off that happens in the game where there are a lot of people who have a lot of time and they go and keep playing, and it's very hard to go up the levels. Once you're at level 5, you progress to level 7, level 6, then level 7, and level 8. And as you go up the level, you unlock a lot of cool items and currency, which is gold, right? So the currency inside the virtual world is raw gold, and that is a lot of value. So as you go up the level and you make a lot of that raw gold, you can go out in the market, in the black market. It used to be black market before Playspan, and you can sell that raw gold for a lot of money, right? So that's how the multi-billion-dollar economy works. And my son was one of the top players in the world. So he always did like very soon. And so he was getting a lot of gold. And he was selling into this black market and making money. So when a 10-year-old kid starts bringing money and gold, you're worried, is he selling drugs or is he into some bad thing or what is going on? Is he stealing money from his friends at school? Like, what is going on? Is there something wrong? And I found out that, he was basically cashing out his accounts. Going up, he got so good at the game that he can go up the levels, he can get all those cool items and currency, and then he can sell. So then we figured that, rather than going to the black market, and there was always this unreliable delivery, because if you deliver the board, you can somebody in the castle inside the game. Somebody has to meet you at like 6 p.m. time, and then you will enter the board, and some bad character can come in and they can take away your board. Right? So there were a lot of inherent logistical problems, and there are also payment problems because generally you can pay. People will pay you by PayPal, or they can say I paid you, but they may not pay you, or they do a chargeback on you. So they do a chargeback. You basically give it a bill to them. They give you the money, but then the merchant comes back and reverses your transaction, so you basically didn't get the money, right? Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of those issues. And we found that this particular market is big enough. It wasn't like that big, but it was a multi-billion-dollar. And what if we created an eBay and PayPal of just virtual goods and virtual currency? Essentially, that was the idea. And we built that, and we initially focused on all those online games. And then ultimately, it became a micropayments platform. So we pivoted in that business. And we started growing, and we got some traction in the payment side of the business. we dropped the marketplace because marketplace was a very hard to manage business. You have to take care of deliveries and returns and all of those stuff. And we just we doubled down on payment business, and we essentially became the PayPal virtual currency. And then we became the largest payment provider to all those digital goods, including Facebook. So today, if you buy any Facebook credits, or if you buy any of the currencies or other than Zynga, all those games on Facebook, it is still being processed by Facebook.
Wow. So, did your son continue to play a role after the kind of the initial insight that you got?
Yeah, so he was my chief, QA operative. So, whatever we will build, he has to test it. And more than testing, you also provide as basically the product direction. And initially helped in some of the coding as well because he knows website, basically front end, HTML, CSS kind of stuff, very basic the front end stuff. But more importantly, what you need is a domain knowledge. And you need somebody who deeply understands how the game works and how the game industry works and what a gamer really needs from a user standpoint.
So none of the engineers you hired knew all of that stuff, but your son knew all of it.
Yeah, the engineers didn't know much obviously about gaming because we hired engineers who were really good at programming and who can build very highly scalable, web services, infrastructure, and things like that. Because, ultimately we were building a company that Fortune 500 companies like Electronic Arts and Nickelodeon, Time Warner, and they
Okay, go ahead. What are you from here? So now the students are asking.
So you mentioned that in the early startups. So in some of the early startups, you mentioned that rapid expansion of your team and hiring more people very fast was not such a good idea. So what are your thoughts on it? How we should expand our teams and what are the things we should look for?
Well, so I think the wisdom that most people have learned now through multiple startups and very almost there is a consensus amongst all the experienced entrepreneurs is that it is best to have 5 very solid, talented people than 25 average people. Okay? So if you are given a choice between the two, that do you want which team is going to win? Of 5 people who are above average or 25 people who are average? And if you understand that, then you will know that how to build a team, and you will not focus on quantity or number of people, and you will be very, very extremely careful about the quality, and you would rather take the pain of not having any people, but you would not want to have the pain of having people who don't deliver and slow down the people who are going to do it.
So this is saying Mahabharata story.
Does it help?
So I'm saying Mahabharata story.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, in fact, that's an old valid story now, right? It's been validated.
Yeah. Validated, exactly, that's validated. 5 Pandavas is better than having 100 Kauravas.
Exactly.
Sir, how did you convince the people at initial stage when you thought that okay, you are going to plan an online portal or a platform to transact the money, right?
virtual money. So how do you convince the people at the initial stage that your platform is the safest platform to transfer to make a virtual transaction?
So how did I convince the initial customers?
Yeah, exactly.
So when you have a new startup and you go to any customer, everybody looks at you very skeptically. Nobody wants to do business with you because they think that you are just a startup, you may be unstable, you may go out of business next year or next month, okay? And so it is very difficult to sell. And so it's a very good question, by the way. I think both the questions were very good. The previous question was very good. This question is very good. And I think the best strategy for a startup who is trying to sell in the B2B market, in the business market, is that your first 5 customers, you want to go after, smaller to mid-sized customers, because the big customers are not gonna trust you. So you have to take it. You have to take that reality, and don't waste your time or don't waste their time by trying to chase, large customers. And they have a valid reason too that large customers just inherently cannot deal with very, very small companies. Okay? So there is no point in getting frustrated. There is no point in wasting time. Important to just find 5, small to mid-sized companies where it is run by an entrepreneur. So you can really have a direct discussion with the CEO of those companies. So that CEO, when you meet them, he himself or herself has built their company just in the last 1 year or 2 years, and they are probably 20 people, 30 people in the company. So they can feel the pain of they can feel your pain. Okay? And they can empathize with you. And they are not going to basically mistreat you or kind of basically pull away by saying you are a small company because they have gone through that same process themselves. And so they will have some level of mutual respect, and they will have the willingness and a risk taking to try out a small new company with a new product, because it is a lot of risk. But small companies, they think that, hey, I'm anyway taking so much risk. One risk is very little compared to the entire risk I'm taking. So if you go to the small companies which are already taking so much risk, your risk is very small part of it.
Yeah.
That's how basically I did my first, to answer your question, I got my first 5 customers not as the EA, Electronic Arts, or the Activision in the gaming industry. I got smaller game developers, who are willing to take this.
Great.
I have 2 questions for you. One question is, when you start a company, you definitely need help from various other companies. Like you wanted to do this online transaction, you wanted to do it securely. So you started involving a few more other companies who does some other sort of work similar to this. So how do you plan security of your idea? Like when you start a company, you have an idea of this placement of online virtual. How do you secure the idea? Like if you go and start discussing with someone else, it is a high probability that they might reject you and copy the same idea and implement it with someone else. How do you make the security for that idea?
Right. That's a good question. Okay. So, look, with any product or service, once you get it out, there will always be competitors. And competitors can copy everything that you can do. And in the software business or even in the hardware business, there is not much defense in the from a technology standpoint, anybody can do anything. If you can hire 10 people or 10 software engineers and build a software, and somebody else can hire 10 people and build the same software. So the only differentiation that you have is the product features, because if you try to differentiate and compete on product features, sooner or later everybody will gonna have the same. So the only competitive advantage is that. So once you are out, the speed at which you grow, that establishes your position in the market, where everybody thinks that you are the market leader, or you are gaining customers, and then all your competitors who have the same features, they kind of start falling behind. So that's what we did when we launched our service, and it was my third time entrepreneur, so I had a lot of prior experience. So what we did was that even though we started small and we got a few small customers, but immediately then we leveraged all that and moved after some medium-sized to big-name customers. And we just started going so fast in execution, both in terms of getting next releases out, and also winning every single deal very aggressively. So, but otherwise, there is going to be there is no way to stop other people selling your product.
So even after all your hard work in developing Playspan, what makes you to sell the Playspan to Visa even after